Hello, I'm Fred Thompson. In the closing days of this historic contest here in Iowa, I wanted to take a few moments to talk quietly with you about the stakes in this election and the critical issues you will soon decide. Because there is no front-runner here in Iowa, and because yours will be the first vote cast in this crucial election year, your decision will be one the entire country closely watches and learns from. When you go to your local caucus on January 3rd and fill out your paper ballot, and by the way, it's just that easy, how you vote will go a long way toward deciding who will lead us as president through dangerous years ahead. That the years ahead will be dangerous needs no elaboration from me. Most Americans know the forces of terrorism will not rest until the mushroom cloud hangs over one of our cities. The recent tragic assassination of former Prime Minister Bhutto in Pakistan again demonstrates the terrorists' will to power and their relentless cruelty. Along with threats to our national security, we have great domestic challenges before us. The economy, taxes, protecting our borders, and protecting the right to life. So I want to talk to you now about the threats and dangers that we face as a people, but also about the hope and opportunity I see out there. Before doing that, however, I'd be remiss if I did not, on behalf of myself, my wife, Jerry, thank the people of Iowa for all your hospitality and warmth over the past few months. Traveling around the state with all our wonderful volunteers and staff, and especially with your great Congressman Stephen King, meant getting to know all of you better. And that's been one of the great privileges of our lives. You may have heard about our bus tour. We're visiting about 50 cities. Having that time out there in the heartland has also taught us once again about what counts in life. The importance of passing on our children and our grandchildren the same safe and free future that others protected and passed on to us. By any measure, we live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Every generation of Americans has an obligation to keep it that way. And to do that, we must remember how we got to where we are and why we are so blessed. That means remembering the fundamental conservative principles that have unified us for over 2 centuries. What are those principles? First, the role of the federal government is limited to the powers given to it in the Constitution. Second, a dollar belongs in the pocket of the person who earns it, unless the government has a compelling reason why it can use it better. Third, we don't spend money we don't have, or borrow money that our children and grandchildren will have to pay back. And the best way to avoid war is to be stronger than our enemies. But if we're caught in a fight, we need to win it, because not doing so makes us much more likely to be attacked in the future. Also, the federal judiciary is supposed to decide cases, not set social policy, and bad social policy at that. And the bigger the government gets, the less competent it is to run our lives. Now, these are ideas and principles that have made our country free, prosperous, and strong. And these principles are the foundation of a conservative movement that I've been faithful to throughout my adult life. These are not principles I decided on a few years ago. They are not concepts that I learned from a focus group. And they're not ideas I came up with to curry favor or to win an election. These principles are part of who I am, and I suspect they're views and instincts I share with most of you. And every single one of these principles is under assault today. Under assault from a left-wing, big government, high-taxing, weak-on-defense Democratic Party. A party whose leadership is licking its chops just waiting to take over the reins of government. Waiting to bring to the United States presidency the same reckless power-seeking and incompetence that's brought this year to the United States Congress. That's why the upcoming caucuses are so important. On January 3rd, the people of Iowa are going to answer an important question. Who's the man you want to represent us, to stand against this assault and protect our principles and values? It's a little late in the process to be coy. I believe I'm that man. And I can stand up to those who would trifle with our great founding principles. I've done it before. I'll blow the whistle on their schemes, and I know how to beat them in the war of ideas. And in demonstrating that, I've laid out plans for a simplified, flatter income tax to take away power from the IRS, a way to save Social Security system that's going bankrupt, a stronger military ready to face the threats of a dangerous world, and a solution to our illegal immigration mess. Any number of publications and commentators, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, National Review, Investors Business Daily, and others have praised these plans, and many have pointed out that I'm the only Republican in the race for presidency who stepped up to offer such bold conservative ideas. I invite you to check these policy details on my website, fred08.com. But you're not electing a set of position papers. You're electing a leader at a time when strong leadership is going to be needed. Now, if you watched or heard about the most recent debate between the Republican candidates, you probably know that I declined when called upon by the moderator to do any hand raising. I just thought that there should be some things that are below even the dignity of presidential candidates. But the point's this: I don't think it was difficult to pick the leader out of that lineup. Those other fellows can't stand up to an overbearing moderator in a debate. I'm not sure how they would fare against the leader of Iran or North Korea. Now, there are many good men running for our party's nomination. Each of them loves our country, and each of them has something interesting and useful to offer. But the fact of the matter is that the Republican Party is a conservative party. That's the philosophy that shaped us. That's the philosophy that has won us elections. And that's the philosophy we must champion if we're to win again in 2008. And on that score, among each of the men seeking our party's nomination, my record stands out. I entered public service and public life as a conservative. I served in the Senate as a strong, consistent conservative with a 100% pro-life voting record. And I have the same philosophy today that I had back then. What you see is what you get. I dance to no man's tune, and no one's ever accused me of changing my position on anything for the sake of political expediency. That's why when someone here in Iowa said conservatives were looking for a horse to ride in 2008, I responded, "Saddle me up." And in the battle of ideas, we can't afford a Republican leader who doesn't have a core philosophy that grounds him. I know who I am, I know what I believe, and I'm ready to lead. When I was in the federal government, I concentrated on national security. I served on the Intelligence Committee, met with foreign leaders around the world. And I managed for the Republican side the passage of the Homeland Security Bill, which I believe has helped us prevent another 9/11. I continued public service after I left government. Although my role on television's Law and Order got considerably more publicity, I took on other roles from time to time as well. When Condoleezza Rice needed someone to advise her on matters of international security, she called on me. When the President needed help to get a good conservative judge confirmed as Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, he called on me. What it all comes down to is this: the most important issue facing us is the national security of our nation and the safety of our people. I've spent a lot of time, both in and out of government, working to make the American people safer. I know the world we live in. I know what we need to do. And I know it's going to require strong leadership. And I would ask people to think one thing before they caucus. When our worst enemy is sitting across from us at the negotiating table and they're thinking about what they can do to harm the United States of America or what they might could get away with, who do you want sitting on our side of the table representing you, working to keep you safe? That's probably the person you ought to elect as president.